The U.S. Senate recently passed a massive bipartisan bill to spend $1 trillion on various infrastructure projects.
So how much of that money could come to Washington, specifically the Spokane area? Our political reporter Casey Decker looked into that.
All four local senators, both Washington Democrats and Idaho Republicans, voted in favor of the bill. It still has to pass the House and be signed by the president, so changes could still be in the works. However, thanks to information from those Senate offices, we have an idea of how Eastern Washington could benefit. Now, we don't know exactly how much money we might get. That's because most of this package isn't like with the stimulus, where certain amounts were allocated to specific states, counties, and cities. Rather, money is sectored off for various general goals like railway improvements and then allocated to specific projects. In other words, specific agencies can apply for money, but there's no guarantee they'll get it. That said, it's pretty likely Spokane agencies will get their share. Here are a few examples. In Washington, we expect $4.7 billion could go towards highway improvements, and it's possible some of that could go to the North-South Freeway project. The state could get about $1.8 billion for mass transit, and Spokane would have a pretty good shot of getting some of that, for instance, to buy more electric buses. About $50 billion nationwide would go to improving water management, and it seems likely the existing Odessa Aquifer project, which is aimed at creating more sustainable water supply for farmers in the basin, would get some help there. $7.5 billion nationwide has been allocated specifically for smaller but important road projects. These could include the Pines-Barker Road project in the valley or improvements to Airport Drive. $66 billion will go across the country to improve railways, especially Amtrak, and that could include improvements to the cars and the routes for the Empire Builder line that goes through Eastern Washington. Outside of specific projects, this bill also includes broad-reaching programs that could stand to benefit everyone, including Spokane. One big example, wildfire prevention. More than $4 billion have been set aside for everything from forest thinning to clearing out hazardous fuels to improving fire prediction technology. Another example, electric grid improvements aimed at making them more durable, which, as we saw recently with the heat-caused rolling blackouts, could be a pretty big deal in Spokane. Internet access is also a big goal of this proposal. Washington could get about $100 million to get broadband to everyone in the state who doesn't have it. $3 billion will go out nationwide to eliminating level railway crossings, which can cause huge backups and sometimes deadly accidents. And Washington could get $71 million to install more electric vehicle charging stations across the state. We do also have one example where we do know about how much money we'd get for specific purposes locally, and that's airports. As it stands, Spokane International could get about $32 million to make improvements to runways and terminals, and Pullman Moscow Regional could get $5.2 million. Casey Decker, KREM 2 News.